Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony. I'm alcoholic. And welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street at 8:30 p.m. in Doylestown, PA. The purpose of this group is to provide a constant message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teaching of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Hey, Danny, welcome. Anyone else? The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with the working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? No? We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of big books and CDs to help those who can't afford them can put donations into the jar. Into the jar on the table marked Big Book CD donations. And the jar is not out, so can't do that. If you would like a CD of any speaker, past or present, please see me or Ron after or before the meeting. They are available free of charge. All right, and I've asked Jamie to come up and read the preamble. Yeah, Jamie. Yeah.
I'm Jamie, and I'm an alcoholic. I was eating, and I was not asked to do this, but I will. Where is it? Okay. Excellent. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women that share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. To finish the rest of my slider that AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. And I've asked Eric to come up and read the AA 12 Steps of Recovery.
Hi, my name's Eric, and I'm an alcoholic. These are the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thanks again. We have a 7th tradition here. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We do have no dues or fees, but we do have expenses: coffee, cream, donuts, rent, big books and CDs, and Tim's famous ham sliders. There's absolutely no smoking on church property, and Please silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. Now I'd like to introduce the speaker, great friend of the Conscious Contact speaker group. We got Joe B. from the Way Out group from Roselle, New Jersey.
Just in time. I don't have to put money in the basket. I'm Joe, I'm alcoholic. So, good to be here. Thanks, Ron, for asking me to speak. Thank the Conscious Contact group for making all that really good food. It's like good stuff, man. Brings a lot of people together. That's cool. Tired. Been on it's a 14-day deal where I have to speak every single night and work every single day. And it's, last night we took a ride up to Annapolis, Maryland from northern New Jersey. Took us about 4 hours to get there. And then I spoke and we got in the car and came home and got home about 3, 4 in the morning and got up and did it all over again today. So it's pretty cool though. So 4 other people came out with me tonight for support, and it was so cool. We were on our way up here, and the 3 in the back, none of them have more than 8 months sober. And they started laughing, but I mean like really laughing, like that belly, that gut-wrenching laughing. And it lasted about 40 miles to the point where I got sick of it. You know, But I tell you what, 8 months ago, there was nothing to laugh about for these 3. It was so it was really cool to see. Yesterday wasn't so spiritual. We learned something about golden showers. It was just a completely different drive, you know. But both were great. We stopped at Wawa on the way over, and we ended up 12-stepping a kid. And he was explaining to us why Alcoholics Anonymous can't work for him. And he said because he took a Myers-Briggs test, and he's a INTJ or something. And he says, it works for everybody else except INTJs. And I said, and our lovely Rose said, bullcrap, but in a different way. I can't curse, thank you. But, no, it was cool. We have a lot of fun. You know, I have a lot of fun in life today. I just recently moved out of the home where my kids live. Like I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old daughter, and me and her mom didn't work out. And so I moved them into another home, and I moved into a place with a few guys, and this all took place over the past 2 months. And then I have another daughter that lives in Florida. She's 3.5 years old, and she's awesome. And I get to see her like every month. I fly down for 4 or 5 days. But it's always hard when I leave, because she doesn't want me to go, you know. And for a long time in my life, they didn't want me to stay. Like they didn't want me to stay. So I have a lot going on, and I think God said, we're not going to give you any time to wallow in self-pity. We're going to keep you busy in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's exactly what he's doing. And it's cool. Like I've set my life up in a way that I'm always active and I'm always being useful to other people. And it really keeps me out of myself, and it keeps me free, you know. But again, like I said, it wasn't always that way. So I'll start at the beginning, because it's usually a good place to start. And I'll talk about a couple of things. I grew up with my mom. She's active alcoholic still till this day. She was 20 years older than me, so my earliest memory was like she's 20 and I'm 4, and I grew up in Queens. I'm a transplant to New Jersey. But I remember this one particular night, and it's never left me. I have a different memory of it today than I always had, but I had this memory originally, and the memory was I was 4 years old, and I wake up in the middle of the night of this room for rent where we're sharing the bathroom with 8 other addicts on the floor, and I wake up and Mom wasn't home. Like, she wasn't there. And I was sleeping on this, it was a fold-out couch bed. And I just woke up and I saw she wasn't there, and I was petrified. Like, I was so afraid. And I started crying. I have an overactive imagination at 4 years old. I have an overactive imagination at 40 years old. But at that time, like, I thought there was this fire-breathing dragon outside the window, and I ran back into the bed, and I got behind it, and I closed the top, and I just hid there, shaking, trembling. And it felt like I was there for a couple of weeks. I was probably there for about an hour. But what happened was Mom came home, and I, like a normal human being, like a normal child, I expressed myself to her when she came home. I told her how it made me feel. And I told her how scared I was and how afraid I was. And I begged her to never do that to me again. And she looked at me dead in the eye with everything in her. She said, "I absolutely never will." Now, I've done the exact same thing to my kids. That's not the point of this talk, right? But she really meant it. She didn't know she had alcoholism. She didn't even know what alcoholism was. She didn't know that she didn't have the power to make a decision like that and stick to it. Neither did I. I was 4, right? So I believed her. And all was well for about 2 weeks, and I woke up again and she wasn't there. And the reason I talk about it is because, you know, and this is how it works. It talks about we have to give up our old ideas. Like, that's my first old idea. And the idea is that if I can't trust Mom, right, the person who's supposed to be there and take care of me and protect me and defend me like more than any other human being in this world, then I'm done. Like, I'm never trusting anybody again. And I'm never going to express myself and let you know how I feel, because if I do, you'll just hurt me. So I take that idea and I run with it. You know, I begin to walk through life with this idea, and I can't let anyone in. It was kind of like I detached emotionally from that point on. Then what happened was, I remember being like 4 or 5 years old, going to school here for the first time, right? And I want certain things from people, right? Like, so I want your attention, I want your affection, I want your love, but I can't trust you, I can't let you in, so I gotta create this facade, I gotta become this actor in my life. This is at 5, right? And so I look around and I observe, because I'm real good at doing that, because I live with an alcoholic. I need to know where she's at, when she's there, so I know how to behave. So I start looking around the world, and I start seeing in the playground, and I see kids like funny, right? So I practice, and I become real good. I get real funny. Like, I remember going home and thinking about stuff I was going to say the next day to the teacher, and like it was going to be funny, and it was, and it worked. You know, like they liked guys who broke windows. So I was breaking every window in Queens, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just running around, pulling girls' hair, talking back to the teacher, being the class clown. And it's working. Like, I'm getting all of your attention, and it's great. And then I remember another day. I was about 7, 8 years old. I don't have a lot of memories from being a kid, but I have these few. And Big Book talks about restless, irritable, discontented. Like, I don't know what those words mean, right? But I've learned, as I've gone through life and in AA, I've learned, like, this restlessness, this anxiety, you know, this irritability, it's like it's resentment. The discontent, it's depression. And the depression is stemming from loneliness, because I can't let you in. I'm afraid if I do, you'll hurt me, so I can't do it. And I'm in a room full of people who tell me they love me, my family, whoever I'm with, but I feel like I'm alone. I feel like I'm deathly alone, you know? But what I start seeing is, I start seeing other kids, and it seems like, to me, that they're funnier than me, right? And it's pissing me off, right? Like, I see this other kid, he's whispering in this girl's ear, and she hugs him. I'm like, what is he saying, you know? It's like, what he's doing is working better than what I'm doing, and I know I'm working real hard at it, and it seems like he's not even trying at all, and he's better at it than I am. It's pissing me off. I heard another couple there, like, I heard that the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? So I know that, on some level, I know that I'm pretending. I know that I'm this actor in life. And I'm afraid that if I look at you in the eyes, you're going to see it. So I'm ducking and I'm dodging, and I'm not letting you look too close or get too close, because then you'll know, right? Restlessness, irritability, discontent, and again, I told you before, like the discontentment is like I'm in this playground with a whole bunch of other kids, and I feel like it's me, and then it's all of them, you know? It's untreated alcoholism. At 7 years old, this is 5 years before I picked up a drink. 5 years, right? I didn't know how sick I was until I drank. Like, I didn't know how I felt. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew something was wrong. I had a feeling. I suspected something was wrong, but I was hoping that everybody felt this way, but I was pretty sure they didn't, you know? And then I'm hanging out. I had made a lot of other ideas, like a lot of other old ideas, like I'm never going to drink, I'm never going to be like Mom, I'm never going to do what she does. And I gave in to, and my will just gave in. I started seeing through other people's eyes, the guys I was hanging out with, what alcohol was doing for them, right? Like I'd see them kind of somewhat sort of like me before they drank, and then after they drank, they were just a ball. Like they were having a lot of fun. They were like the life of the party. They were able to talk to girls, and I really didn't want to do it, but it won out, man. Like I really wanted to kiss a girl. You know what I'm saying? Like I really wanted to express myself without being in so much fear of what everybody else was going to think when I said it. You know, so I took a drink, and I think it was a quart of Bud, and it was awesome. It was awesome. It was magic. I was able to say things. I didn't care so much what you think when I'm drinking, right? And you actually like me better when I drink. You know, like I'm funnier, I'm freer. I'm not giving off that nervous vibe, that nervous energy. I'm happy. I'm at peace. And it worked. It worked awesome for a long time. What began to happen to me was like and I remember this stuff like clear as day, like I'm drinking and all is well, everything's great. Like I'm experiencing some consequences as the result of my actions, right? Because sometimes when I get drunk, I do dumb stuff. Like I, hook up with the girl I'm dating's sister, or smack my best friend in the face for no apparent reason, right? Like, so I would lose relationships. Like I would damage relationships, and I was always like, I'm weighing the odds, right? I'm like this magical, wonderful feeling that I get every time I drink to my friendship with Sean. And I'm like, I don't even like him anyway. He gets more girls than me, or the girl, like she's great, but her sister's a hell of a lot prettier, like she's funnier too. She laughs more at my jokes, like this is what I'm doing. I'm weighing out, like I get a DUI, I get arrested when I was 19, 20 years old, I get a DUI, and I live in Queens. Like, there's mass transit. I'll take a bus, right? Like, I'm not letting go of this deal. I'm not letting go of what this thing is doing for me. It's working magic in my life. It's making me feel, finally, for the first time, normal. Like, I'm not drinking to get drunk or to escape. I'm drinking just to be okay, like, just to be free. And I never experienced it ever in my life, as far back as I can remember, until I began to drink. And consequences would happen, but I would brush them off because what I was gaining was far more than what I was losing. And, I had got it because, booze stops working as great as it does in the beginning, so I got involved trying some other stuff, and because it helped me drink more, and it was great, and I got into a little bit heavy with that. I was like 20 years old, and I heard that, because I would see kids, a lot of kids come from New Jersey to New York to get this other stuff. So I figured in New Jersey they don't have this stuff. So I'll go to New Jersey and I'll be okay and I'll just drink. Like I came to find out they have this other substance in New Jersey. I didn't know that at the time. I really didn't. I was certain of it. So I tried New Jersey, and my whole life, I'm trying to fill this thing that's going on inside me, and I'm inexperienced. Like, I'm 19, I'm 20 years old. Like, I don't know what's going to fix it. I haven't really experienced anything yet. Like, I experienced getting a job. I know that didn't work. It's probably because I didn't get paid enough money. It's drinking's still doing it. It's still doing the trick. I tried a couple other things, right? I met a girl when I came to Jersey. she was a little bit older than me, and I needed someone to take care of me. So, because I couldn't take care of myself, like I couldn't pay my bills on time, I couldn't do any of that stuff, and she was a lot more stable than me. She's not one of us. So I moved in with her, and she had a kid already, so I became like a stepdad, and I figured that would work, and it did for, a couple months. It worked. I didn't have to drink and do other stuff. And then I started drinking again because that wasn't enough. Like my whole life, I know I'm missing something, but I don't know what it is, and I think it's in the material world, and I think if I can just find it and get it, then I'll be okay. I started getting into some more trouble. I got arrested a couple more times, and I got this woman pregnant. We ended up getting married, and I like to talk about this because it's really important. After my mom had made that promise to me and she broke it, I found her about 6 months later in the kitchen of that same place with her wrist cut because she just couldn't deal with herself. She couldn't deal that she did that to her child, that she made a promise like that and she broke my heart. And she saw what was going on and it was killing her, and she tried to commit suicide, and I grabbed her wrists and I hid the bottles and I hid all the other stuff and called 911. And about 6 months after that, my stepfather, he was doing some other stuff and he OD'd and died, and I remember smacking him, trying to wake him up. Like this was the norm for me. Like this is where I come from. 6 months after that, she tried to commit suicide again, same way, in the same room, in the same chair, and I caught her again. And I'm thinking everything's temporary. Like I already decided not to trust anybody, but I figured like everything is temporary. And so what I did was I just completely detached myself from the world, from the people. I put everything over there and me over here. And I don't know if that's alcoholism, but I know that's what I did, right? And I know that fueled my alcoholism. So the day before I get married, it's pretty cool. The day before I get married, it's a Friday, and that edge is on. You know that edge I'm talking, that feeling like I'm nervous, like I got to meet some of her family, and like we got to go out to this Chinese restaurant, and it's this wedding rehearsal, and we're going to have to talk about the stuff we're going to do tomorrow, and I'm like, the edge is on, and I tell her, I say, listen, I need to go get a couple of drinks. I need to chill out, unwind. Then I'll be good. I can go and I can meet your family, and everything is going to be good. And she, like against her better judgment, she said, okay, right? So I went. I went to a bar in Patterson. I had a few drinks, about 3 or 4. But she was begging me to please come back. She was like, you have to come back. It's really important that we show up at this dinner, and it's really important that it goes well. And of course it is. It's my wedding day. Like, I've never been married before. Like, this is going to stop me from drinking. Of course I'm going to show up on time. And so I went, I had those 3 drinks, and I got in my car after I had the 3 drinks, and I came right home. And we went to this rehearsal dinner, and everything went great. Like, it was a great time. Next day was the wedding, right? Some of you guys who have been around there know where this story is going, right? Next day is the wedding. It's 10 a.m., right? I'm in my tux. I'm ready to go. She's got her relatives or family members over there, and they're helping her. You know women, you guys take forever to get ready, especially on a wedding day, right? Like, so they're putting the makeup on her, and they're putting all this stuff on her, and I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. And we don't have to be in New York. I rented a place, a German restaurant, and we don't have to be there till 2, and it's 10. Like, I'm not sitting in the house for 4 hours. Like, you thought I was nervous yesterday. I'm really anxious today. Like, I got to dance in front of people. I hate dancing. Unless I'm drinking, like I gotta profess and express myself in front of 200 people. Like, there's no way I'm doing that sober, right? So I told her, just like the day before, I'm going to have a few drinks, I'll be right back. She's like, Joe, it's really, she didn't use imperative, she said some F words, it's really important you come back. And I said, of course, I came back yesterday, of course I'm going to come back. Today's the big day, my family's coming, like everybody's coming, I paid for everything already. And she said, okay, go ahead. And So I did the same thing, got in the same car, drove down the same roads, went to the same bar, had a few drinks, but I didn't know I was alcoholic. And at certain times, once I put booze in my body, I can't stop, no matter how much the wish, the will, the want, or the desire to do so. So I took those few drinks, and 10 turned to 11. And a few more, and 11 turned to 12. And she's calling, and I'm telling them to tell them I left, tell her I left, right? And 12 turns to 1, and 1 turns to 1:30. I'm in the bag. And I swear to God, I did not mean to do that. That was not my intention. I just wanted to go have a few drinks, just like the day before, to just take the edge off. So 1:30, they kick me out. I show up back at the house, wasted already. She's crying, mascara's running down her face. Her brother's from Colombia, like neckties and stuff. I'm thinking, like he really wants to kill me. His wife was even scarier, right? I've always dated Latin women too. I'm out of my mind. So anyway, she was pissed. We got in the car. We get to the wedding. Probably around 2:30. We get to the reception hall. The priest is there. Everybody's like, "Where you been?" And it's funny too, because I remember something about this wedding. It was such a beautiful place and such a beautiful restaurant, but they had plastic cups. And I didn't understand why. You know, it was weird. I'll get back to that, though. It's pretty cool. They had plastic cups. They had great food, filet mignon, really good food in plastic cups. It was strange. So we get to the wedding. I'm hitting on the waitresses, because that's what I do, right? I'm making a mess. I slap my boss in the face. He fires me on the spot. I fall face first into the cake. I fall backwards when I'm taking the garter off. She's crying. My mom's yelling at her for marrying me, you know? Like, this is what's going on. Long story short, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning on my wedding night in the back seat of a car covered in cake. Like, and she's just up there. I ruined her day. I promise you I did not mean to do that. Promise you I did not mean to do that. I'm not one of those guys that come up to a podium and say, every time I drank, I got drunk. It's ridiculous. I'm alcoholic. I drank thousands of times. There's been hundreds of times that I haven't had to get drunk every single time I drank. There was many times that I went to work, had a few beers during lunchtime with a what do you guys call heroes here in Pennsylvania? Had a hoagie, right? And drank half the six-pack with my buddy and went back to work. There was plenty of times I did that. But at certain times, and it was usually when a supervisor was on site, was when we would come up with the bright idea to drink that six-pack and then go get a bottle of vodka and drink while we work. Whistle while you work, drink while you work, right? Like that's what, right? But it was only at certain times. So, like, later on, when I come into Alcoholics Anonymous, and every time I drank, I got drunk. I must not be alcoholic, because that didn't happen to me. Big Book don't talk about that. Every time I drank, I got drunk. It's talking about at certain times. That I can identify with 1,000%. Getting drunk every time I drank, that doesn't make any sense to me, right? Progression didn't start from day one for this guy. You know, it just didn't. It took some time. So I had experienced that's the physical allergy to alcohol, right? At certain times, once I start, I can't stop. I didn't know that. I didn't know what alcoholism was. Like, I grew up going to AA meetings, man. My whole family are a bunch of meeting makers who didn't make it because they just made meetings, right? I mean, really. My aunt, most favorite person in the world, OD'd and died after 90 meetings in 90 days. She died on the 91st day, right? My Uncle Ed, 7.5 years sober in the fellowship, never worked the program. But he was 7.5 years in the fellowship, went back out, tried to commit suicide and kill his family. A couple years later, came back into the fellowship, still didn't work the program. About 6 months ago, he went to his doctor, who knows he's alcoholic, but doctor told him, Ed, your heart's not doing too well. We think you should drink a glass of wine every day. Right? Let's trust our doctors, just because they have DR on it. Like, what is that? So he's back out. He's actually in Maryland, cooped up in a hotel room somewhere. He left his new family, and he's alcoholic. He can't drink a glass of wine every day. Right? I tell people when you go to a doctor, if the doctor doesn't have an equal or greater understanding than you of what alcoholism is and what it means to be alcoholic, I probably wouldn't take his advice. You know, that blanket statement of listen to your doctor can kill you, right? A lot of quacks out there, you know. Anyway, so I got into a lot of troubles. I started to see that once I drank, I couldn't stop at certain times, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. Progression was kicking in. And I made a decision, and I was like, all right, I'll go to AA. Again, with my family, just one more, you know. So my aunt, my uncle, he's back out there now. My grandmother had 17 years in the fellowship. She never worked the program. She relapsed and died in 4. My grandfather was chairing the first meeting in Brooklyn. He was in the fellowship, not the program. He left that meeting that he chaired that day in Brooklyn. It was the first meeting that ever took place in Brooklyn. Well, not on that day, but he was chairing that group, and he went into an abandoned building with a bottle of whiskey, and he burned himself to death in that building that day. You know, I think when my parents were getting together, thinking about having me, and like they had me, and then they would hang out with other parents, and the other parents would say, my son's going to go to Yale, and my son's going to go to Harvard, and he's going to be a doctor, and he's going to be a lawyer. I think my parents said, my son's going to be the first to work all 12 steps. Like, I think that's what was going on in my household. I swear to God, man. Because alcoholism runs rampant in my family. So I seen booze was causing me a problem once I started drinking. So I made a decision. I know AA, been to a lot of meetings with my family, been going since I was 5, so I'll go to AA, right? My wife is threatening to leave me and take my kid, go to Columbia, and I'm never going to see him again. The guy I just started working for tells me he's going to fire me if I show up drunk again. I was only working for him a week, showed up drunk twice. So I said, okay, like I'll go, I'll do your AA. Like I don't think it works, but I'll do it, you know, and I'm not alcoholic anyway, so it'll work no matter what. I can don't drink and go to the movies. I'll be good to go, right? So I do that on that basis. Like, see, because my whole life up until maybe 3-4 years ago, I think alcoholism has something to do with drinking, like how often you drink or how much you drink or the circumstances that take place after you drink. Like, I don't know what alcoholism is. That's what I think it is. I think alcoholism is that guy from my neighborhood, Curly, from Queens, pushing that shopping cart with the dreads, and he's talking to himself, and he's got the trench coat with the brown paper bag. Like that's alcoholic. And I ain't it, right? So on that basis, I come to AA, and I become a meeting maker who doesn't make it because I just make meetings, right? I 7.5 years without a drink, over 2,000 meetings, right? I got a sponsor because you told me to, and so the thing you got to understand about me, like I'm the guy who lives through your eyes, right? I'm riddled with pride. I've done it my whole life. So if I think you think I'm okay, then I'm good to go. Because there is no me to think I'm okay, but if you think I'm okay, then I'm okay. So that's what I do. I walk into AA and I stay the same pretender that I was in the playground at 7 years old, right? I learned the words in the book, right? I have an intellectual experience as a result of knowing the words, like that. This is what I do, and I pretend. I'm a great pretender. Like I pretend to be spiritual. I pretend to help others. I pretend to make amends. If she's cute, right? Like this is what I do, and my understanding at the time was that if I don't drink, then I'm a winner. Then I'm a winner, right? So I wasn't drinking, so I'm a winner. I didn't see the other stuff I was doing for quite a while. So I'm trying new things because I still got this void in the fellowship. I'm still dying on the inside. I'm still empty, and I never had money, right? I didn't come from money. I never had money. So my head cleared up. I was able to start making some money, and I started a business, and I started from one guy and built it up to 100 guys, and I started making a couple $1 million a year. And it worked great. I was free inside for a while, right? For a while. That stopped working so well, and, you know, I've always had this other thing where I really like women, you know, and so I started hooking up with women in AA. Not in AA, because I don't like to crap where I eat, but if you're not in AA, you're fair game. Like, that's where my head was. So I start dating women alcoholically. That's what I do. And that works for a while. Then I started gambling, right? Any gamblers in this room? Yeah. All right. Well, anyway. And that was funny too, because I was never much of a gambler, but I started betting on like the NFL, like the weekend tickets. You bet on a thing. Yeah, now the heads are starting to nod, right? So I started doing that, and within like 8 months, I'm betting on girls' little league soccer in Venezuela. Like I'm losing 60, 80 grand a year spent like gambling. Like I got scratch-off tickets loaded up in the back of my car, and it's working. Again, like I said, for a period of time. The women are working for a period of time. The money's working I start buying stuff. I buy houses. I buy the biggest house in my town. I bought a freaking Lamborghini. Like I'm out of my mind, right? Like I'm grandiose to the max. Like there's no me, and it's stuff all works for a while, but that void is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the grace of God, after 7.5 years, I picked up a drink. Thank God. Thank God. Because my head was not in the right place, man. Like at 7.5 years sober, I'm having homicidal and suicidal thoughts, right? I'm thinking about because everybody else is the problem still in my life, right? And what happened was I went to a business deal in Manhattan, and I drove there in my great, beautiful, whatever, Cadillac Escalade, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and the business deal went great. And if you would ask me that morning if I was ever going to pick up another drink, I would tell you 1,000% no. I've heard thousands of war stories at this point, right? I've heard guys selling their kids and vehicular homicides and all sorts of sick stuff, right? Plus all the stuff I had done, right? Like I'm never going back to drinking. And I left that business deal and got in my car, headed towards the Lincoln Tunnel. Next thing I know, I just walk out of a bodega with a Corona, and I use the seatbelt to crack it, and I go through the Lincoln Tunnel, and I drink it, right? I'm not thinking about your kids when that takes place. Like, I ain't even thinking about my own kids when that takes place, right? I got this mental obsession, and I don't even know it. I got this thing that I'm great at stopping drinking. I'm really good at it. I'm an expert. Been doing it for years, like many different times. Like we have experts in this room, guaranteed, right? I suck at staying stopped, right? I did it once for 7.5 years. The other times I did it for a whole lot less. 6 months once, a lot of 3 days. I don't know why it's 3 days, but it's 3 days. Like I spent a lot of 3 days sober in my life. Not many 4s. So I pick up a drink, and long story short, I tried everything. Like I tried everything. I experienced everything I thought in life, and I'm thinking, what else is it? Like, what else is it that's making me feel this way? Like I'm not whole inside. I'm still disconnected emotionally. And how I knew is like little things. Like I would tell my kids I love them, and I know I love them, but there was like just this, something was missing when I said it. It kind of felt like I was being phony when I said it. Like I couldn't put my finger on it, but I felt it. Turns out I had never probably said anything sincere in my entire life up until the age of 38. So what happened was I went out and things got great for a while, and it was like letting the air out of the tire, man. When I came in when I was 24 years old, alcohol was still working pretty well. Like I was still, every time I drank, I would get into a lot of trouble when I drank, but every time I drank, I would get the sense of ease and comfort that came from the first few drinks. Like it was, but then at certain times I couldn't stop. I started losing my self-confidence as the result of countless vain attempts to stop drinking. I started losing, like Bill did on page 5 of the book, right? Like I knew this had to be stopped. This time I meant business. My wife could tell this time I was serious. I had written lots of sweet promises before, but she knew I was serious. She knew I meant business this time. Next sentence, shortly after that, I came home drunk. Right? I got to that place. I started getting to that place. The last thing I had was I'd never been really in love. Right? So it must be that. It must be like I never experienced being in love with a woman. Like, I'd been with lots of women, but I couldn't. Like, I'm completely disconnected from myself emotionally unless I'm drinking. So through a series of circumstances, I met a woman. And we knew each other from kids, and we hooked up on the computer. That always goes well. And you know, we got together, and it was awesome. And that worked for a little while. But then it got real bad. And it wasn't because of her. It was because it was the one thing, the one reservation that I had left. If I find love, then I'll be okay. And I tried that one reservation, and I was not okay. I was actually worse than I had ever been in my entire life, man. I started racking up DUIs, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, I'm drinking as soon as I get out of jail from the 5th DUI. Booze is still working. I had abandoned my kids from New Jersey. I moved to Oregon. I had the FBI, New York, New Jersey Narcotics Task Force, 24-hour surveillance. I was doing some other crazy stuff. So I went out to Oregon, and I figured I'd hide out. And like, I don't even know of Oregon up until this point. I'm like, they'll never find me there. And it was true. Like, they didn't. So if you're planning on running, go to Portland, Oregon. But stay out of Eugene, Lane County, and Springfield jails. Like, they'll find you there. And what happened was this. Like, my job as a speaker is to carry the message to the alcoholic who still suffers. I'm not here to preach to the choir or talk to seasoned sponsors. Like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to connect with the hopeless, with the seemingly hopeless, and I'm here to carry a message of hope. So that's what I'm talking about here today, right? If you're doing well, I'm glad, you know. What happened was one day I had all this dough, and in 8 months I started drinking heavy, and it got really bad, and I had burned all the dough. I had left my business, dropped that. I had left the East Coast, was over on the West Coast, and I'd gotten to a place within 8 months where I'm driving around in a Lamborghini 8 months ago with 60 grand in my pocket every single day, to a place where I'm living with this woman I just got pregnant, and she has 2 kids already, and she would wake up every morning at 7:30 to take these kids to school, and I trust me, she was waking up at 7:30, not 7:31, because at 7:30 when she left, I was going in that kid's room to take money out of their piggy bank to run up to the store in Banks, Oregon, to buy this $6 bottle of vodka, because it was the only thing that was still working. And I was doing that. And what happened was, one day, I was going through this deal, and buy this bottle of vodka. I get back in time before she gets back. I go in the bathroom, I start drinking it, and usually by the time I get halfway through the bottle, I get that sense of ease and comfort. Not like I did when I was 12, but I get it. Like, I get to forget about me abandoning my kids, kissing them on the head and telling them goodbye. And this particular day, it probably happened before then, but I just recognized it that day. It wasn't doing that for me. Like, I remember looking in the mirror, and I see my eyes as I talk to you, and I could see that they're cocked and they're red, and I could listen to my words and they're slurring, right? Physically, I was intoxicated, but it was no longer providing that sense of ease and comfort at all, right? Book talks about we will know loneliness such as few do, right? We'll wish for the end. When we get to that place where my life is just as sick drunk as it is when I'm sober. And that's what's going on. Like, I'm drinking to escape at this point. I'm drinking to get relief, and now I'm drinking and I got none of it. And I remember that day I started praying to, I don't know, God, the devil, or aliens, or whoever was out there to please not let me wake up and do it again, because I had to do it again. What else am I going to do? Not drink? Go to AA? I did that already. That don't work. Right? I'm praying, it's not working, and that goes on for about a month or two. It's just not working at all, and I'm conscious of it. And one night I said, "To hell with it, I want to end it." And I took a bottle of Tylenol PMs, a full bottle, and I swallowed it down, and I chased it with 2 bottles of NyQuil, and I woke up, and I cleaned the house. Swear to God. But you laugh, but you don't know how pissed I was that day. Like, I can't even die right. Like, that's what's going on. I can't even die right. Like, I'm listening to stuff on the internet, and I hear there's this Russian warship off the coast of Cuba, 200 miles from Miami, and I'm hoping they attack us. Like, please, and hit Oregon first. Banks, Oregon, 47 Oak Street. Like this is what I'm doing. And it's not working, and I'm going on this bitter, miserable existence for a period of time. She gets sick of me. She kicks me out. Like, we had the baby, but she said, you got to go, and I got on a plane, and I came back to New York, and I went to Mom's house, and that lasted about 2 weeks because she was getting pissed off that I was stealing her beers, you know. And she kicked me out, and I went back to that house in Jersey, and where I had left that woman, had a kid with another woman, abandoned my kids, and I just walked in like I was there yesterday, you know, because that's what I do. And she took pity on me, and she invited me back in. And what happened was, that was like around January 5th. It was my birthday. I came back. And January 6th or 7th, I don't remember the exact date, but my brother-in-law came from Italy. And he wasn't feeling too good, so he has medical benefits in New Jersey. And he went into St. Joseph's Hospital in New Jersey. And he came with his 2 kids, his 2 beautiful daughters, and his wife who he's madly in love with. And they go into the hospital, and he comes back to my house a couple days after they'd run these tests. And what they told him was that his internal organs are corroded with cancer. And because he's had 5 heart attacks, he can't withstand the treatment, chemo. Like, he can't. So they said, get his affairs in order. He's got roughly 3 weeks to go. Like, he was in the end stages. And I'm still drinking. And I see this, though, but I get this perspective, and I see what's going on, and I see that, so, like, here's my 2 kids who, like, again, they don't want to be around me, right? They don't want to be around. They're afraid I'm just going to leave them again. This woman, my wife, she don't want to be nowhere near me. She wants me out. And I'm looking at his life, and he's got these 2 kids who love him, and he's got this wife who's in love with him, madly. She's madly in love with her. And I'm like, what the hell, man? You know, so I was like, why? What is this life? What's life? What's this crap all about, man? And I went into a bathroom in my house there, and I got on my knees, and I probably said the most sincere words I've ever said in my life. And those words were to this God that I wasn't too sure he existed, but actually I was pretty sure he didn't. And I said, God, please take my life. Please take my life. Please take my life and give it to my brother. Like, I don't want it. I'm not praying to get sober here. I tried that. That's even worse. Like, please take my life. And I said it with every fiber of my being. And that was January 6th. I was in a brown blackout or something between the 6th and the 11th. But January 11th is my sobriety date, 2014. See, God, he took my life. He took that life. And he gave me this brand new life. And that was over 3.5 years ago. My brother-in-law is healthy as an ox today. Like, healthy as an ox. He takes medications and stuff, but he's good to go. So God could and would if he was sought, but you got to honestly seek him. You got to really mean it. Like, it has to be done with sincerity, man. And that moment, it was done with sincerity. It was done with all of me. And the power of God came flowing into me. And I don't even recognize myself today at all, right? Like, I can't even grab a hold of what has taken place that day yet. Like, I'm going to be ever growing into that, right? I'm going to be ever learning what took place that moment, that day on that bathroom floor. But it started to change. Everything started to change. I was the guy who was extremely arrogant, extremely closed-minded. You couldn't tell me nothing, right? Like, I know everything. And I went from that guy to being a guy who was willing to accept help on help's terms, right? Like, I called my sponsor that I used to have, and I said, I need some help. And he told me what to do, and I didn't question it. I just did it, right? Because I had done everything else by this point. I had really finally, for the first time, hit a bottom. And what that looked like to me was, I'm willing to do anything. Like, I'm just pretty much doing it to prove you wrong. Because if it don't work, now I'm jumping off the bridge. And that's my excuse. It didn't work. So I became willing to do the 12 steps. I became willing to follow the direction of another man. I became willing to believe in a God that I can't see, touch, hear, or feel, right? And we started going through the steps, and really cool stuff started happening, man. Like, I was 7.5 years into fellowship. Not one single person ever asked me to sponsor them. Because I had nothing anyone wanted. And no one has asked me to speak. Are you crazy? They would tell me to shut up, you know? Man, I've been sober for over 3 years, man. I've had well over 1,000 people ask me to sponsor them. Like, and it ain't me. Like, this ain't me. The person the power that's flowing through me today is absolutely not mine. Like, I'm a selfish taker, man. I've been my whole life. This is not the guy who sits down with countless newcomers and takes them through a process and watches them grow, and like I'm the kind of guy my whole life, if my kids ask me to spend some time with them, like, let's go to the park or let's go to the movies, like, I'm the kind of guy who like I'm selfish with my time mostly, so I'll throw money at you and I'm like, here, like go buy a video game or something, just leave me alone, right? Like, if you want to watch TV, we can watch Law and Order, you know, like, that's who I am. Like, I'm not the guy who dedicates the majority, all of my free time to helping others who desperately need it. That's not who I am. I had a profound experience in step one when I went through it with my sponsor. For the first time in my life, I understood what alcoholism was, just as Dr. Bob did when Bill brought him that message. Like, Dr. Bob knew the solution to alcoholism. He was going to the Oxford group for years. He was smarter than hell. He's a doctor, right? He had a library filled with spiritual books. He didn't understand the problem. Just like me, the nature of alcoholism, he didn't understand what it meant to be alcoholic. And when Bill brought him the problem, that was when he could recover, right? And that's when I could recover. I understood that I'm screwed. I'm alcoholic. That means I'm completely screwed. That means I must do these things. They're no longer optional, right? I must develop a relationship with God, a conscious contact upon and a reliance upon a power, right? I have to. I have to be completely honest to the best of my ability with myself and others. I have to go out and make amends. I have to dedicate all my free time to helping others. It's an absolute must. Like, I'm sicker than most people, right? I just am. I grew up in sickness. I learned really extremely unhealthy behaviors, and then I poured in an inhibitor like alcohol on top of it. I went to extreme self-will run, right? Extreme depths. Like, I've been there, right? I know that. And I know I was able to get free of that, right? So I try to find people that were just as sick as me. Like, we started I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of stuff about amends because I don't have that much time, but I've had some really cool experiences in amends, man. I talked about one last night that was awesome. My father, right? So, like, you know, another one of my defects is I'm a liar. Like, I'm just completely dishonest. And it's not because I want to be a liar, it's because I'm afraid of telling the truth, right? So my dad would come and visit me on weekends and every Thursday when I was living with Mom when I was a kid, and he would ask me how things were going, what's going on in the house, and I would lie to him because I didn't want to go be with him, and I didn't want to leave my mom because I thought she needed me. You know, what if I wasn't there when she cut her wrist? Right? There was nobody else there. So the fear of that kept me lying to Dad, and he would ask me, is she drinking? And I'd say, absolutely not. And he would ask if things were good at school, and I'd say, absolutely. I'm like the rising star, and I'm going to be on the dean's list. And I was on the dean's list, but not that list. It was a different list. So what I had found, what I had come to find through inventory and through getting honest with another man, I had seen some cool things, and I had seen that I had completely robbed my father of being a parent to his son. I stripped him. I stripped that from him, right? I made it incredibly difficult for him to have a relationship with me, and I made it even harder for him to love me because I was just a jerk, man. Like, I was just a jerk. And I'd seen that, and I went back to him, and we sat down for a while, and I had made amends to him, and I expressed to him how that must have felt for him, and because I've been able to learn how to consider other people, like, it's bar none, man. I understand that every single person on this planet is doing the absolute best they can do at any given time. Like, I get that, just like me, right? When I did all the dirty, nasty stuff that I did, it was the best and worst I could do at that particular moment. When my mom did what she did, it's the best she can do. Like when I came into AA and I was 24 and I just sat around and went to meetings and didn't help nobody, at 24 that was the absolute best I could do. I couldn't have done any better. No matter how much I wanted to or needed to, it wasn't inherent in me. I didn't think I had to. I thought I had an option. And I had to go out and burn that reservation to the ground in order to come back in here and accept what you had to offer. I had to do it. So I made amends to my dad. And my relationship with my dad was this. For 37 years, right? I would call him, especially when I got older. I'd call him, and we're going to talk, right? But we're going to talk about what I want to talk about, right? And if you don't agree with me, I'm going to let you know how dumb you are for not agreeing with me, right? So this would be our conversation. And it would always end with, Joe, I got to go because my ear hurts, right? And I would say, I love you, Dad. And he would say, all right, goodbye, right? I got to make that amends to him and put myself in his shoes as him, the best I could, right? Not as myself. And he was able to get free with me. And what our relationship looks like today, because it's an ongoing amends, what it looks like today is I call him and I say, hey, Dad, and I say, how you doing? And he starts talking about whatever the hell he wants to talk about. And I jump fully into it, right? And it's a great conversation, and the conversation always ends with, Dad, I gotta go. Like, I got some stuff going on. It's been an hour and a half. I gotta go. And he's like, man, Joe, it was so great talking to you. And he says, I really love you. And I said, I love you too. Those kids, my kids, they love being around me. Like, we talk about really cool stuff. I had heard the other day, a couple months ago, my ex, she told me, she said that my daughter told her a story, and the story was that my 13-year-old daughter, she's driving with her friend and a friend's father. And the friend's father was driving erratically, right? And his own daughter was nervous as hell. Like, she's like, Dad, slow down. And my daughter's in the back. And her friend looks back at her, and my daughter's calm. And her friend says, Christina, why are you so calm? And she says, well, my dad taught me that I could be afraid of something that's going to happen, or I could not, and it's not going to change the outcome. I don't think she's one of us. That's pretty damn good. And I'm thinking, I said that? Maybe she heard Ron K speak. I don't know. I don't think it was me. But, like, this is the kind of stuff that's going on today, man. Like, we started a group. It's called The Way Out. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of The Way Out group. We started about 3 years ago. We have 3 meetings a week. One is a big book study on Sunday nights in Roselle, New Jersey. It's about an hour and 20 minutes from here. If you drive like Ro, probably 3 hours. If you drive like me, it's an hour and 20 minutes. It's really an hour and 20 minutes. But we study the big book, and we study it one paragraph at a time, and actually sometimes a couple sentences at a time, And what we do is we talk about the actions we take. So we read a couple, paragraphs, and we talk about how the actions we take and the results we get. Like, we don't talk about Bill's experience or Bob's experience or the first 100's experience. We follow the directions in the book precisely. We take those actions and we get results, and that's what we talk about. And it's a really cool meeting. We started another Saturday night meeting. It's a 1 hour, 1 speaker meeting. It's at 7 o'clock. If you have a DeLorean, you can make it from there to here by 8:30. But you can't make it if you come here, so I don't want to step on anyone's toes. But we started another meeting, too, in Passaic, New Jersey at 7:30, and that's a 2-facilitator big book workshop where we take the group through the book, sharing our experience, again, with the actions we take and the results we get. And the speaker meeting is just like this meeting. It's a 1 hour, one speaker meeting where we bring in recovered alcoholics who are working with newcomers on a regular basis, because they have, as a result of that experience working with newcomers regularly, they have tremendous hope and strength to share, because they're having a conscious experience. They're having a constant experience. And we're having fun with it, man. We're in about 7 different treatment centers a week. We built the group up, man. We're a solid group of doers, and we're continuously having new and profound spiritual experiences where we've been completely delving ourselves into the traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous, and because we've made a lot of mistakes, we've tried to hijack certain groups, and it's crazy. It's the fun stuff, though. Fun stuff. We go into these treatment centers, and what we've been doing is we kind of, me and a buddy, Charlie, and so it's like Joe and Charlie, and we go into these treatment centers, and we take groups of people through the 12 steps. And sometimes we took 39 women through the steps. 17 of them held on through 4 and 5, and we brought in 17 recovered women to do 5th steps with them. And many of those women today are still sober. Some are in our group, some are in other groups in other areas of New Jersey. But it's cool stuff, and it started from there. And then we went to these other treatment centers, and we started taking them, and we started carrying this message of Alcoholics Anonymous to the utmost of our ability. And what the response we're getting is that I've never heard this. I've never heard this. I went back about a year ago, because my mom, she's still out there, she's still active, and we have the best relationship we possibly can, but I went back to the area where she has been trying to get sober for 30 years, and I went to every single meeting in that area. I'd be drinking too if I was her, just to be honest. I would be drinking too. There's nothing close to this message being carried over there, just from my perspective. So we've started a bunch of other groups, like groups have stemmed off from our group, one in San Francisco, one in Long Branch, New Jersey, another one upstate New York. I don't know if that's still going. But the main thing is that we're having tremendous amounts of fun. Like, we're fired up about life, man. My boss really enjoys me working for him today, right? I've begun to completely develop these principles that are contained behind these 36, the 12 steps, the traditions and the concepts. I'm trying to develop them into my life and all my affairs. And it's just so much fun. Like, I remember that feeling that I got when I was 12 years old when I first took a drink. It was absolutely magic, and I'd done some other stuff for the first time too, and that was absolutely magic. But it always failed me eventually. This has yet to fail me. Like, it's only growing greater and greater. It's like, this is the best bottle of vodka I've ever had, man. Like, and I didn't know AA could be like this. I didn't know that you could actually do what you talk about. Because there's a lot of people flapping their traps, and but I watch their feet, and that's what we always tell people when we go into these treatment centers. Listening to our words is one thing, and you're going to get fired up and you're going to get inspired, but that's an emotion. When you get out of here, watch our feet, run with us, see what we do, and they see it and they love it. Like, we go into treatment centers, there's 15, 20 guys every week. That is a message in itself. And we're having fun, everybody's laughing, joking around. Like, that's what this deal is all about. I heard you guys took a loss to your group, and I'm sorry. I was a couple months ago, I was sponsoring this young kid, 21 years old, and I had him in 4 and 5, and he was, but he was holding on to something, and I could just sense it. And he went out one night, and he OD'd and died, and we lost him. John, he was a great kid, man. It's, I don't claim that my life is wonderful. Like, it's not all roses and whatever, butterflies or whatever they call it, right? But what I do tell you, what I can tell you for certainty, is that I am at peace in the eye of the storm. Like, my recovery has been tested, right? Like, I have a daughter who lives in Florida. I miss her to death, right? I'm able to walk through missing her with a sense of peace and ease and comfort, right? I owe the IRS still a whole bunch of dough. I relapsed as a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire today. Like, I was taking a bus for the first 6 months I was sober, right? Like, I'm working for half the money that I used to pay my guys today, currently. In the eye of the storm, I am at peace. That's the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not that everything is going to be great, it's that I can be great in everything. Like, that's really cool. And I think my time is up. Ron told me that because I'm special, I have till 10:30, but I'm gonna respect your time, and thank you for letting me share.